Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, and it's a live edition. You're looking live at PodUp Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today's program will consist of Corn Dog, better known as JC, and Brian Edwards. Brian Edwards works for Vegas Insider and multiple other outlets, and he will give us some picks, some preseason football picks, some NFL playoff picks, whatever you got questions, shoot them his way. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. How we doing?
How can he be any better than us, especially with your 4-0 record last weekend? I mean, you don't have to work for the Vegas Sports and Information Network to go 4-0 QB, but I think interestingly, he'll be able to talk about the dynamics and what's taking over. Remember, I gave you those statistics about the demographics of the mobile sports wagering and how it's really taken off. And I'll be interested to ask him a few questions about some of that. Live betting, now the entry of Hard Rock into Florida. It's going to be really important because these young men these days are really dialed into it. And like I said, they are dialed into that, and young ladies are dialed into Instagram and Taylor Swift. So there you have it. That's what guys and gals are doing on their little phones these days, other than other things.
Yeah, we got we'll do our Peach Sand Dental picks for the playoff games. JC and I will. Gators play at Missouri tomorrow. On
you
YouTube, it's a must win. They're over. They're going to be desperate, but you have to win this game. Richard says or asks on Facebook Live, this is YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, are athletes required to go to class and maintain a minimum GPA? Yes. Now, you have to have a certain GPA to be eligible to play. As I stated yesterday, I don't know when the last time any school I've saw on Twitter or watching a game that left tackle John Cornell has been suspended due to GPA or missing class. Right. Back in the day, if you miss class, you would probably miss a game. But I don't know how many go to class. A lot of it's probably online, quite honestly.
Well, I mean, these spring sport athletes.
That's different, JC. That's different. Football is never missing a class.
No, I get it. But tutors are always available these days.
They have plenty of tutors. But what I'm saying is once COVID hit, majority of the classes went online. So I'm sure many of them still are. Barone wants to know, have you ever eaten at Dreamland Barbecue? I have multiple times.
I appreciate the question, Barone. And yes, the answer is yes. And I'm going to start looking at some of these because I get a lot of questions that I miss. So I'll follow along.
JC, you have so many listeners around the world that have questions for you. I think every time, like the night of after the show you've been on, you should go back and make notes and reply to the people and answer their questions.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my man, Bill Henderson out there in Ocean Springs, Goshen, Mississippi area. I will be playing golf with you, Bill, in the spring when it warms up, brother. Don't worry. And I appreciate the shout out. He's a loyalist on our show, and he's in the southeastern part of the state of Mississippi, glorious state of Mississippi, and he watches us religiously. He's a big Gator fan, drives his Gator cart all around Hickory Hills and Goshen, Mississippi, and he's got the flags, the orange and blue, right there in the middle of Ole Miss country and Alabama country and Mississippi State country. So good for you, Bill. I mean, you're shouting it out, brother.
John wants to know on Facebook Live, how do you feel about losing almost all of Bama's coaching staff so far and almost every player?
A lot of the most attractive players come from the Alabama school. I think if Nick Saban, the thing
still there, they would be there. Majority of these kids go play for him.
That's true. And the teams want these players, obviously. And I think all I can tell you is that I'm sure Kalen DeBoer will be quite active in the March portal period. and they'll go after some other players themselves. But yeah, it's some turnaround. There's no doubt there's some turnover. It will affect them, but you just can't lose a Caleb Downs and not have it matter. I mean, that kid was Mika Fitzpatrick part 2. And
speaking of that,
he's leaving.
Justin from Virginia sent this text. I'm gonna go through it real quick. He says, "Listen to your show yesterday with Brent. You touched on Lane Kiffin's approach to the portal. I think the new formula is going to be to be a blend of recruiting and the portal. Obviously, you prefer to build your team through high school recruiting so you can develop them, have experience in depth, but kids aren't staying around longer than a year or two. You can bust your ass recruiting and developing these players, but by the time they're ready to play, they're going to transfer to Georgia, Alabama, whatever. Seems like Kiffin is letting everyone else do the grunt work, and he'll just plug and play with talented older players. That's what he's doing. Yeah. I was joking yesterday. I don't think he signed anybody out of high school. He signed a few, but yeah, that's who Lane is. I said yesterday he's lazy. That's probably not appropriate, but it is when it comes to like recruiting high school kids. He does not care. He's going to go in the portal, get guys who have played, plug and play, and go try to win games. So
yeah, I mean that's his roadmap. That's fine.
Yeah, because I mean, you just think about it. Let's use Caleb Downs for example.
Yeah,
true freshman last year, National Player of the Year as a freshman. And if Nick Saban was still there, he'd still be there. But
yeah, he would.
He's moving on, and it's probably going to.
It's kind of funny. You play for a championship, and then the coach retires, and you lose players. That's
JC. They're going for the money, bro.
Yeah, they're going for the money.
Because if you wear that crimson uniform, or you wear that G on your helmet, or you have that silver helmet with Buckeyes on it, and you go into the portal, people are going to be coming after you hot and heavy. Yeah. So Barone also on YouTube. I wanted to bring this up today. Miami has a tight end about to enter his 9th year in college. You think he should have 2 bachelor degrees and a master's by now?
I saw that.
So he's got to be at least
27,
28.
Yeah, sure.
I've been in the NFL for 5 years. There's got to be a ruling on that. I know that BYU, those guys have, they go do their missionary work and all that kind of stuff. But it just doesn't seem right. Just like when Winky won the Heisman at age 28. Could you imagine playing college football at age 28?
No, it's nuts. A grown man. I mean, your brain is different than an 18-year-old's, and it's. I know COVID had all this to do with COVID. Has a lot of it to do with that. Maybe the kid had long COVID. Maybe he suffered from this or that. Who knows? But I think it is kind of ridiculous. 28-year-old kid playing football with your 19-year-old kid.
Could be. I mean, I enrolled on campus at age 17.
Yeah. Well, that was funny. I sent you that text as well when I saw it yesterday. It's insane. But QB, I have to mention. I don't know. Maybe we touched on this earlier, but during the week in Todd Bowles' press conference, a young lady asked him how his team will adapt to the freezing temperatures of Detroit, Michigan. And the way I would have answered that question, as opposed to how Todd did, which was fine with the way he answered it, because he basically told her they were indoors, ma'am. But I would have said, I think our team does quite well in 72 degrees with no wind. And let her figure it out. I mean, it just that was the laugh of the week for me. And I mean that's been all over Twitter.
Do we know who asked that question? What female?
It would be easy to find out, but she was so serious about the impending doom of the freezing temperatures, and the Bucs are a Florida team, and they're playing in Detroit. I mean, and here's the funny thing: even before Ford Field, what did they play in? QB. They played in the
Pontiac Silverdome.
Silverdome. So it was.
Well, the poor girl has no idea. She may have been sent by the St. Petersburg Times as maybe she's an intern and told her to go to the press conference.
Completely asinine. I mean, if you're going to get in this business, know what the hell you're talking about. I don't care what your gender is. Just know what you're talking about, please. Please.
Yeah. 1966 HBC beers available at Spurs, Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the O-Dome, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager, 1966 HBC beer. We're speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We're going to have Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider join us, majorwager.com, all these different places. Just give us his thoughts on the weekend. Yeah. And they already got a lot of lines out for college football as well. Cliff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, why bust your ass to recruit someone from high school who has never played a down of college football, who may only be there 1 year or so, when you can get an experienced player from the portal? I mean, it's true. And you know what's sad about that, JC?
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of high school coaches. You know, I got a lot of friends that coach high school ball.
Yes.
The recruiting and the coaches coming on campus.
Oh my God.
It's like they don't even do it anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's changed. This is what Dabo Swinney has been resisting as the Clemson head coach for so long, is that he doesn't like the way this is happening, and he's spoken out about it. But he can't afford to fall behind and miss on players and lose 4 games either. So either you change into the way the system works today and hope for better results and changes in the future from the administrative level, or you just have to fight through it. It's the wild, wild west, and you better bring a bigger gun than the other guy. What else can you do, QB? I mean, this is the way these kids are now. They're getting tampered with every single day. That's what this is. It is a tampering device. Yo, Caleb. Yo, dude. I got a SUV. I got a condo, and I got
a bag of money.
And I got you in front of all types of people, so you can pimp my car lot, and we'll give you a lot more than what the TV station is willing to give you. So it sucks. But hey, I mean, it's something you gotta figure. I just don't know why they can't get together and show some leadership and get this under control. I don't know why these people can't do this. Is it that hard?
I don't know. It's a mess. I get so tired of talking about it. People get upset about it. I know it's here, but it is a disaster. You know, I mean, I think you're going to see Michigan kids start going into the portal after they win a national title. On the Titan MR text line, Paul from Pensacola has sent like 6 texts saying, "Ask JC if he wants a ride." Do you know who that is? Paul in Pensacola. He's got a picture of some like prop plane here.
Oh my God. No, I'm sorry, Paul. Thank you for the offer, brother, but it better be Delta, American, United, maybe Southwest. That's how I do it. I've been offered to take these private jets, and I used to do it all the time because my former wife was a organ procurement coordinator, and we would go on fun trips daily to New Orleans and Atlanta, New Asheville, Miami. I've heard too many horror stories from people I know who were on those jets. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Do it. My biggest client runs the FBO here in Gainesville. But I'll tell you, man, it's too much for me. I'm too old to be nervous on these planes. I'll just go on Delta. I'm fine. I'll go the night before and meet you there, QB. How's that?
Yeah. Paul says on YouTube, it's bad enough that you have to beg these 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? There it is. Now you have to compete with paying them. Why would anybody want to coach? Yeah.
Well, that's what I think Saban, part of that issue was.
I mean, think. Listen to this, JC. So Kerwin, we all know, Kerwin's a very good friend of mine. Yes. Had the #1 offense in FCS last year, and he loses his son to Pitt as the offensive coordinator. But he lost 3 or 4 of his best offensive players to Power 5 schools from Western Carolina.
Oh my God. So it's such a shame too, because the work he put in to get those kids to come to Western Carolina, he gets them on the field, and then they say, "Thank you for helping me move on to something bigger and better. Grass is greener."
Well, I mean, he was happy for the kids, but I mean, that's
I get it. But man, he did all the work. Those schools, if they had wanted him those kids 2 years ago, those schools would have recruited them, but they didn't. And now they see what I just don't want the Western Carolinas of the world and schools like this to be the minor leagues for a select few major programs that are out there picking and choosing who they want from other places. It just seems like it's pilfering. And, Western Carolina now is a AA or AAA farm club for the NC State Wolfpack or the, Virginia Tech Hokies or whomever.
Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, Pitt Panthers. And is that good that they are a farm system for these other schools? I don't think that's good.
Natasha on Facebook Live wants to know how many football signings are already on campus. I do not know the answer. I think majority of them are.
Yeah.
All right, JC, before we jump into our Peachland picks, let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Puts a star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Check this one out, JC.
I'm listening.
In 1974,
okay,
I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't tune into this game. Probably wasn't on up in North Mississippi.
I may have.
Notre Dame beats UCLA 71-70 in South Bend to end the Bruins' NCAA record of 88
basketball
straight wins. Think about that, winning 88 straight.
88
games.
Straight. John Wooden, and that was Digger Phelps.
Yeah,
Digger Phelps from Notre Dame. The Digger. He was. Then he went on NBC, of course. But okay. Well, I may have seen that actually. I don't know, but yeah, UCLA was the dynasty in basketball. They couldn't get rid of John Wooden. They offered him, an office there in the building after he retired and all this, and it was tough. He never went away.
Speaking of John Wooden, do you know who replaced John Wooden? And then was
Gene
fired.
His name was Gene Bartow.
Gene Bartow, who was a great basketball coach, but he was only there for a few years. Took his team to the Final Four. They fired him.
They fired him, and then he coached Alabama Birmingham too, the Blazers at the BJCC. That'd be your Birmingham Jefferson County Civic Center. Yes, Gene Bartow replaced John Wooden. Yeah, I hope Kalen DeBoer is not a short-term trivia question to who replaced Nick Saban.
I hope he's not Ron Zook.
Well, I don't want him to be that trivia question in 20 years. No, I don't.
You could be a little worried though, right?
Well,
So
I wasn't a week ago, and then I'm seeing this exodus of players, and I'm trying to figure it out, and it's scaring me a little bit. Caden Proctor also left. He was an offensive lineman, started as a freshman, gone. See, got greener grass somewhere else. Good luck.
Yep, somebody's in his ear. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry, Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Visit peachlanddental.com. We're going to do our playoff picks. Do you have the?
Oh, yes, I do. But let's take a quick look at the golf. Somebody has Patrick Cantlay.
Well, JC, it's one round, and I think they're playing the same course, but it's an easy golf course.
Yeah, I got Patrick Cantlay and Shoffley. Oh boy, JC rolling out the gates here in golf picks. So good. What? Where's your guy? What was the dude you took? Nobody heard of? Holden.
Bo Hostler.
Hostler.
You never heard of Bo Hostler? He's in there somewhere. I don't know. I haven't looked.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right. Football. Let's go. NFL tomorrow. Weather will be somewhat of a mitigating factor for the Texans in Baltimore, but not by much. It's just going to be cold. There won't be any snow to worry about. That's today. So they're missing that by a day, and they are 9.5-point favorites over C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. That's a lot of points. The Ravens haven't played in 2 weeks, meaning their starters. They're rested, but that doesn't mean they're going to play well. It could mean they come out very slow. I love the Houston Texans in the first half, getting about 5. And I think I'm going to – I want to take them for the game. But, boy, Baltimore gets going. They're going to kill them. I'm still into it. I'm going to take the Texans +9.
I'm going to take the home team, the Baltimore Ravens. I love C.J. Stroud. I think he's phenomenal. But I have a feeling playing – now, he's played in cold weather. But when you play in a dome, which they're basically in a dome.
They're in a dome,
Yeah, they're in a dome. That playing outdoors, things of that nature. I just think the Ravens are really good. I think Lamar run all over them, so I'm going to take the Ravens. You have the Texans.
Yeah, their defense is tremendous. Those Roquan Smith and Queen.
Cliff says DeBoer may be another Ray Perkins.
Oh, don't say these things, Cliff. Terrible.
Mike Dubose. Maybe he's Mike Dubose.
No, that guy.
Dennis Franchione.
That guy was a creep. Janice Francione didn't know where he was half the time. He was so
Mike
okay. We don't
Shula.
want.
Could it be Mike Shula?
Mike Shula got so mad at me because I let his ferret out of the apartment that he lived in with two gymnasts, and I came in there and we were hobnobbing, and I left the door open behind me, and that stupid ferret of his ran out and never forgave me for that. True story. All right, Green Bay. Green Bay, man. Look, Jordan Love is the hottest thing going right now. The Niners have not. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys that haven't played in 3 weeks, QB, and that's okay. They're rested up. They are also 9.5-point favorites. I mean, basically, are they just going to roll the Packers, or can Green Bay go in there loosey-goosey like they did last week? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, you got two guys that know each other very well, Shanahan and LaFleur. They coach together. They run the same type of system. But I'm going to lean to the Niners. I just think they're the best team in football.
A lot of points.
That's okay. They could easily win the game 28-10.
10? Green Bay's only going to get 10?
I'm just saying. I'm just threw a number out there. I said that's what I'm going to take. I'm taking the Niners.
Chalk for you. I'll go with the Packers. I'll take the 9.5, and I agree with you, though. San Francisco's the best team in the NFC, at least at this point in my mind. But Green Bay shocked me. I mean, QB, I didn't see them throwing 40 up on Dallas. I didn't see that. Nobody saw that. Dallas didn't see that. And by the way, they are keeping McCarthy for a 5th season. All right. Sunday, we have the weather game in Detroit. Freezing temperatures, wind blowing, snow. I just hope the Bucs can handle it. I mean, going from the bus through the parking garage area in the tunnel to the locker room, that's going to be hard. But anyway, they're getting 6.5. You know, this is a magical season for Detroit. They got this second home game because of what happened in Dallas. So they're rolling. Their crowd is they're foaming at the mouth for the Lions. They moved the Tampa Bay Red Wings hockey game from 5 o'clock to 7 to accommodate fans if they wanted to go over to Joe Louis and watch the hockey or whatever. Just keep that separate from the football game. So Detroit's buzzing right now. Tampa's got very little, I think, expectations to lose. I mean, what do they got to lose? Give me the 6.5, and I'm taking the dog in this one too. And I know you're going to go with.
I mean, you're probably right, but I'm a big Jared Goff and Detroit Lions guy. They're my Super Bowl pick, so I am going to run with the Lions.
Yep, I got you. I understand it. Total's 49.5. Could be a lot of points in this one. Detroit typically scores a lot, but they only got 3 last week in the second half against my Rams. And
Cliff makes a very good point here.
What's
on
Cliff
Facebook Live. The 49ers are better coached than Dallas and will be better prepared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. It's just that I think Green Bay can backdoor this inside that number with a late score or something like that.
So you think it's going to be like 28-14?
28-14.
28-14, they score at the buzzer. 28-21.
Or it could be 38-24, right? Yeah. And then they get a touchdown. Anyway, I do think Green Bay will score, though, because if Aaron Jones is healthy, and that makes a big difference in Green Bay's offense, it really frees up Jordan Love. And Dobbs is doing great. Romeo Dobbs is having a great run right now. He's healthy. This is the game, though. I knew they would put this one on Sunday night, the last game of the weekend, 6:30 game. This is a great game, man. Kansas City finally traveling to Buffalo. The weather will not be a big factor at all. 24 degrees, no snow, maybe a little wind, but not a factor like it was maybe a week ago when they played. And it wasn't much of one for the Bills then either. But the Chiefs are getting 3. First road game ever in the playoffs for Pat Mahomes. But Josh Allen is on a mission. I think Kansas City comes to a halt here. I'm going to take Buffalo, land that 3, man. And it's about their defense. If they can stop the Chiefs, they win. To me, that's the whole game right there.
Well, we all know the Chiefs are not explosive like they've been in the past.
But Buffalo's going to score. Buffalo.
I'm going with my Bills. I'm taking every favorite. It looks like
you are. You're on all of them, but you'll probably go. I don't know, 3-1, 2-2, maybe 4-0 again. Yeah. But that's a lot. That's 3 points is not a big deal. That's just the home field number. City. I agree with you. They're tough though. They're the defending Super Bowl champions, and they're not going to go down without swinging. And Mahomes, bro, it's so hard to bet against that guy because he just finds ways to make it happen and win games.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a different Buffalo situation. Their Bills, it was just a month and a half ago that some folks didn't see them even making the playoffs. They got in now, second home game. Man, Buffalo is on fire. You got guys jumping off snowbirds into tables that are on fire outside the parking lot, and they're cheering.
It's a mafia.
It's
mafia.
It's absolute madness in Buffalo. Good for them. This is what they live for, literally. And if they win, they'll likely travel to Baltimore and bring half the state of New York with them. So
yeah, somebody on here, I can't find it, that lives in Baltimore. Johnny here. Johnny lives up in Baltimore. I don't think y'all are related. Yeah. You're Johnny Cornell. He's Johnny Cromwell.
Okay, Johnny.
He lives in Baltimore. He says the wind is blowing. It's going to be a nasty game.
Okay, so the wind is a factor then. Well, I can't see.
Well, it may be blowing. It may not be blowing tomorrow, though.
No, right. That's what I checked it out this morning. I looked at it. The storm is going through today. It's going through tonight, and just thank God the Bucks are. I hope they can handle that weather. Walking from the bus to the arena. Yeah.
JC, on this text from Brett, Titan our text line, Brett in Jacksonville says, "Good morning. My opinion is there's only one reason why the NCAA hasn't made any changes to the portal, because it makes college football relevant year round. Being relevant builds your brand, which means more money."
Well, that's an interesting theory, but I think folks who love college football talk about it all year round anyway. College football is a way of life in the Southeast, right? Now, if you think walking through Los Angeles that Trojan football and UCLA football is a big topic of conversation in downtown LA, I got news for you. It just isn't. They got a lot of TVs in Southern California, but a lot of them aren't watching the Trojans play, or the Bruins for that matter. Maybe the Trojans if they ever win again. But the Bruins, the Rose Bowl's half full when the Bruins play football in Pasadena as a home team. It's half full. So it's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. I was in LA. I didn't see a whole lot of Trojan stuff running around. I was all over the place too. Beach, Pasadena, Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica Pier. I didn't see any Trojan stuff. I didn't see any UCLA stuff at all.
Robert on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. And this is something I've been talking about all week long. He says there's zero loyalty or commitment to a program anymore. You're exactly right.
That's the thing we've been talking about. Shane's been pounding that drum. You started the week off with that question, and I think that's where we've gotten now. It's got to.
I mean, think just real quick, JC. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going
fine.
to.
Go ahead.
Think of Caleb Downs.
Yeah, I can't.
National Freshman of the Year, had a phenomenal year for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Was one game away from the national title game.
Yeah, but just think about, okay, how can he? I have a feeling he's probably going to end up at Georgia. But that's just like Richie Leonard, our offensive lineman, transfer. He's got 1 year left. He went to Florida State. I just don't know how that's possible. How you can stomach that.
Yeah. Well, it is hard to stomach. It's brutal.
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about him as a player. How you can do that?
Yeah, I guess it does come down to that bank account in most cases.
Right. But if Caleb Downs ends up going to USC, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But if he goes to Auburn, or if he goes to Ole Miss, or he goes to Florida, there's a chance he could come here. Not him. It's another DB y'all just had. It came down with Florida and Alabama. I can't remember who it is. Well, it's nuts.
Do you think any of this has a lot to do with the relationships that were formed with the coaches who then left? I mean,
that has a lot to do with it. Yes, but like I don't know if it was when you were on Monday or Wednesday, but every college coach that I've talked to says that if a kid leaves school for another school, about 99% of the time, it's because that school has offered more money.
Wow.
But it's no different than but it's just like if Merrill Lynch out in California offered you X amount of dollars, you're going to say, now California, you probably don't move there, but let's say Texas, people go for money. And Howard says here, money will destroy college football. I don't know if it's going to destroy college football. I think college football will survive.
Definitely changing college football. I don't know. Maybe these guys just become employees, W-2 employees, and they're under some sort of contract. In the NFL, free agency is a real thing. but there are contractual obligations.
There are rules, because when you are drafted, you have a 3 to 4 year rookie contract. So that team knows you're gonna be on that team unless they cut you. No, that's a different story.
Look at Brock Purdy. Yeah, look at Brock Purdy, QB. He's making less than $1 million. He's got a roommate in freaking San Francisco. You know what? Brock Purdy would have been offered millions of dollars, last year probably to go somewhere else. And
all right, JC, we're gonna you gonna hang on and go on with
Brian? I can hang on for about 15 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick timeout. We're gonna pay a few bills. We'll be right back. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I'm going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We're going to be joined by Brian Edwards from MajorWager.com, Vegas Insider, all kinds of stuff. Good morning, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I got my partner JC on here too. Let's talk NFL playoffs real quick. He's only going to be on for about another 10 minutes. Who you like this week and why?
So I'm going to go with look, I think Baltimore's laying too many points at 9.5, but I don't want to bet Houston. I just got too much respect for what CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans have going to lay that many points against them. I think the best way to attack it and yet back Baltimore is to go with its team total over 27.5. So if we discount Baltimore's regular season finale, which we should because Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, all those guys rested. The 6 previous home games prior to that regular season finale, when all those guys were resting, they had scored 56, 37, 34, 31, 37, and 38. So 31 in all 6 games, 34 or more in 5 of them, and 37 or more in 4 of them. So I want to go with Baltimore's team total over 27.5, and they might get Mark Andrews back, who, has been out since mid-November, 45 catches, 544 yards, and 6 touchdowns before he went down. So that would be another bonus. I'm also, for a little less confident in this one, I'm also just going to go with the over 43.5 points for Houston and Baltimore. Stroud in his last 6 starts, 9 touchdowns without an interception. And in the last 10 games when Lamar Jackson has played, the over 7-3 for the Ravens. You want me to keep going, or which other games?
JC's got a question for you. Go ahead, JC.
Brian, being in Florida, thanks for being with us. In Florida, you've seen now that the advent of the mobile sports betting capabilities offered by Hard Rock in this state. Brian, what is the chances that Hard Rock maintains this monopoly in the state, and will there be any other players coming in to kind of balance things out, or will we see this continue? And with it continuing, do you see other states like California and maybe Texas, who have similar populations to Florida and New York, opening up at some point soon as well?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where all of it is in the courts, but there's still a lot of legal wrangling to do because the Caesars, the BetMGMs, the FanDuels, DraftKings, et cetera, want to get in, and all of us as casual bettors certainly want other markets. Like you said, the Hard Rock has a monopoly, and that's nonsense. So I want a FanDuel and everybody to get in, and I know there's upcoming court appeals and whatnot. I know they've allowed them to open up for now. I'm not sure exactly when the dates are, but I'm rooting for the FanDuels and all that to get in. So it'd be much nicer if we had $200 in 3 different accounts that could shop lines. If the Gators are -7 at the Hard Rock, but they're -6 at FanDuel, well, we want to be betting at FanDuel. Go ahead.
No, the VIG too. I mean, you look at these numbers, these odds that are laid out on this app, and listen, I'm all for at least having the capability in the state to do this with Hard Rock, but they can really capture some margin with the line, with the numbers, the odds that -130, -120 to change a half point here or there.
Yes.
It is tremendous to their advantage, and a lot of people can get hurt. So be very careful, I would just say, and I'm sure you would agree, to look at those numbers other than just the spread, because that can really hurt you.
Ron, we got
my first. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my first experience with Hard Rock was not good. It said you get a free $100 bet, and so I made my first $100 bet, and so I lost it, and I was supposed to get refunded. I didn't know there was like a 72-hour expiration on it. I got some little note that you missed it. So,
man.
My first experience was horrible with them.
Yeah.
We got a couple of questions here for you, Brian. Let's talk about the Bills and the Chiefs. Should be a heck of a game in Orchard Park. But Andy's question for you regarding that game says, is it smart to bet the over on Josh Allen rushing yards during all his playoff games?
I think it is.
I mean, I'm not against it. I haven't seen that number, but I can look it up here in a second. But yeah, in the regular season, you're wanting to keep Josh Allen healthy because you got a long season. Playoffs, it's do or die time, and he's such a weapon running the ball. And so, and I will look that number up in a second. I don't want to just say, bet it over when maybe it's jacked up to somewhere in the 70s right now. But in general, I think he's going to have a lot of more rushing attempts. So in other words, throw out the stats from the regular season. He's going to be running the ball more because that's too good of a weapon to not utilize it when, it's a one and done playoff situation.
Well, Brian, have you seen a lot of the proposition play? I mean, I noticed now ESPN basically has a program. They make a living off these prop bets. It seems like people are really gravitating to that. Do you see that continuing to be a thing for the younger guys out there betting?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that also relates to the fantasy people, those that might not have been into sports betting, but have always been into the fantasy aspect of it. And so I've never really been a big props guy until the last year or two. And now it was always a sweat with Arthur Smith and his incompetence with the Falcons play calling. But Kyle Pitts was getting such low numbers on his receiving yards that I played it a lot. And although he would sometimes unbelievably only get 4 or 5 targets, his numbers were in the mid-30s a lot of times. So I had a lot of success going Kyle Pitts overs this year. And I had some success with A.J. Brown there for a little while, and then it cooled off. So I've slowly gotten into it a lot more, and yeah, I think it is going to remain really popular.
All right, back to that Bills-Chiefs game. What do you like in that game?
Yeah, well, I just think it's a coin flip on the side, and also it's kind of hard. We don't know about a lot of the Bills' defensive players. I mean, they had several key players get hurt last week, and we don't know about all of those guys yet. So the way I'm going to attack it is I'm going to go over. It's either, let's see, it's 45.5 in a lot of books. I consider 45 a key number because on a total over under, because it is 3 points higher than 42, a multiple of 7. So maybe by that half point from 45.5 to 45. But if you can't do that, that's fine. I like it over 45.5 as well. Now, they did have a low-scoring game, 20-17 in the regular season, but the over is 3-1 in Buffalo's last 4. Buffalo's offense is playing well right now. Like I said, the defense is banged up. The weather's not going to be quite – it's going to be, it's going to be really cold in the 20s, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. But that's not nearly what KC was dealing with last week, not nearly as bad as what Buffalo had on Monday, where against a pedestrian Pittsburgh offense, they had 48 combined, and it went over. So I just kind of trust Mahomes and Allen to make enough plays to get over 45.5. But as for the side, too tough of a call, and I would need to know more injury information on Buffalo's key starters on defense.
Brian, what do you see out west? Green Bay, is it a trap, or is it something that, with all the points they put up last week, it gives you comfort that they're also going to be getting a huge number here against San Francisco, who's had, I think, basically with their starters off for almost 3 weeks. So, I mean, do you think that's a factor? Do you think Green Bay can keep it going, or do you like the chalk here?
No, I like Green Bay here. Now, I got a clean plus 10 early in the week. It's 9.5 right now, so I would recommend buying that half point to the key number of 10. So, Green Bay has won 4 in a row. In their last 9, they're 7-2 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. But in the last 9, Jordan Love, 21 touchdown passes compared to only 1 interception. And now that Aaron Jones is healthy, the last 4 games he's run for 127, 120, 111, and 118. So, and look, San Francisco only went 3-5 against the spread at home this year. They were only 5. Yeah, they're only 5-6 ATS in 11 games, favored by 6.5 or more. And the Packers, they only went 5-5 straight up in ATS on the road this year. But their 5 road losses by only 13 combined points. They never lost by more than 4 on the road this year. With the way Jordan Love is playing, I think Green Bay hangs in. I think San Fran wins, but I like Green Bay to cover the big number.
And we talked about how Hard Rock can increase margin on these half points and so forth. But in this case, minus 110 on 9.5. And if you get that key number at 10, you're only laying 115. I think you can afford to do that as long as it's not 130. I saw, in some cases, these spreads, they go a half point in either direction. You're laying 30%. It just really dissuades you from that kind of thing. But with 5 basis points here, I think you have to jump on that 10 number, because that 3, 7, and 10 is so important in these games.
Yeah, and I agree with you. When they're asking you to pay minus 130, that's a little much. But especially if you can get minus 115, definitely buy it at 10.
Jump on that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we got a lot of Buccaneer fans that watch this show. I picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl back in August. I love that team. How do you see this Lions Bucks game playing out?
I like Detroit to win outright. I don't want to lay the 6.5. Baker Mayfield is playing pretty good. I had Detroit minus 3 last week, and a tough beat. Thought I was going to get that one the whole game. So, if you like a money line parlay, maybe you can put it in with Baltimore, or maybe a teaser with Baltimore if you can get the teaser on Baltimore's side of it down to 3. I hate to kind of be a fence sitter. I think Detroit's going to win, but I'm not going to lay the 6.5. If you want to tease it with Baltimore, or a money line parlay with Baltimore, maybe if you got something else you want to put it in with, I'd be okay with that.
You like teasing dogs up, or do you typically take these big favorites and down? I always feel like a lot of times in big games like this, you just have to tease the dogs up because you don't have to win the game and you can get a double-digit number. To me, I see a lot of folks typically always going with who they think will win the game, and sometimes even that teaser won't cover. And how do you look at those teasers? Because those numbers, The odds get worse the more points you take. But if you take a dog getting double digits, and especially in a big game like this on teasers, I think it makes more sense.
Yeah, on a teaser, I usually like to do home teams, but favored between 6 and 9 to get them down to either pick them or to -3. But as long as you're crossing two key numbers, so in other words, if you like the Chiefs, so if they're +2.5 and you get them to +8.5, you're crossing the key number 3 and the key number 7. So correct. In teasers, I always want to cross two key numbers. I like to stick to the home teams between 6 and 8.5, but I wouldn't be opposed to Kansas City in a teaser at +8.5 this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, you're getting a quality quarterback and all those points. That's what this isn't really about numbers as it is more so than teams, I think. I think that's the way guys like you and so forth, I've been told, it's about numbers. You have to look at numbers. And the tendency is always to look at the teams, especially in college football, So,
Brian, let's switch gears a little bit. Gators go on the road tomorrow in college basketball to Missouri. Missouri has not won a game in conference play. They're desperate. Gators must win this game. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, they're desperate too.
Yeah, so I made the Gators -3 in this game. Or I'm sorry, I made it 2.5, but I looked at Ken Palm and they have it at -3. We'll probably get the numbers at around 1 p.m. today. Desperation mode for both teams. In non-conference play, Florida was looking on the right side of the bubble throughout non-conference play, but now with a couple of losses, most of the bracketology folks have them on the outside. Some of them don't even have Florida as the next 4 out. So this is a huge, Florida, it's got to start not only getting some quad 1 and quad 2 wins. They certainly can't afford a bad loss right now. Yeah. So this is a must for the Gators, and the Gators are 0-3 both straight up and against the spread on the road. But Missouri's only 6-4 straight up at home, 2-8 ATS at home for Mizzou. So I think the Gators should take care of business. They gotta get better on the defensive end. Scoring has not been a problem. Shot selection has been a little iffy at times. Big one for the Gators. They got to get this one and start picking up some quad 1 wins pretty quick.
JC?
Brian, I was also going to ask you about the future. Do you delve into the futures market that often or during the season, maybe toward the end, or do you prefer doing it at the beginning, or do you do it at all?
Yeah, no, sometimes like in basketball, I kind of like more like mid-season, late season. Football, I was invested in the Bengals in the preseason. Burrow ruined that. I had the Eagles to win the NFC East, which is one of the bigger heartbreakers in a long time. Right now, I do not have any future tickets in the NFL. I have a FAU 45 to 1 ticket in college basketball right now, and I have a UConn 12 to 1 ticket.
Let me give you one too that you might want to look at. Remember that coach from St. Peter's who took those the Peacocks? He's at Seton Hall right now.
I've had Seton Hall a couple of times as a home underdog in recent weeks.
Do you like Seton Hall or do you like Seton Hall? I mean, really. So
I think I saw their future number was 200 to 1 a couple of days ago. And it did kind of tickle my interest. I did not bite on it, but I had them as home underdog a few times here recently, and they're playing very good at home, no doubt.
He's a good coach. He's a very good coach. Knows the New York area like the back of his hand. I think Seton Hall's a sleeper. You take a look at them in the futures market for sure.
Yeah. Brian, let's switch to college football. I know there's got a lot of lines out for the early games, like especially early conference play. Anything jump out at you?
Well, I don't have a FanDuel account, but certainly, and I want to know more about, the rosters and, getting more portal guys, et cetera. But I think your listeners, we all are interested in these numbers. They're out so early. FSU is -12.5 to Georgia Tech in Dublin in week 1. Texas A&M -1.5 at home to Notre Dame. Georgia -12.5 to Clemson. That's going to be in Atlanta. LSU -6 to USC. That's in Vegas. And then as we get in the regular season, Georgia's -3.5 at Bama. Bama was actually favored in that game before Saban stepped down, but obviously with the transfer portal and Saban leaving, that number's been on the move. And then we've also got Oregon -1.5 to Ohio State. That's in early October. And Georgia, a lot of respect for Ole Miss when they go to Oxford October 12th. The Bulldogs are -3.5. And then November 9th, LSU's -2.5 at home to Bama, and Ohio State's -6 at home to Michigan. No Gator lines yet, but Graham Mertz is 150 to 1 to win the Heisman. And yes, it's amazing they have these lines out already. And Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck are the +750 co-favorites at FanDuel.
Speaking of quarterbacks, JC, your prize recruit Julian Sayin is in the transfer portal.
Oh my God, he left too?
Yep.
Dear Lord. Well,
JC's an Alabama guy. So,
I mean, well, everybody's coming after our guys. That's fine. We'll wait till the March portal, and hopefully things will change. That's bad. I'm saying is he was the crown jewel of that class, I think. You look at you laughing. You loved it.
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny.
Well, Shane, I mean, hey, the Gators have had a few more defections than Alabama, I think. So let's don't feel too bad for JC.
That's true, but
thank you, Brian.
That's very true. Before we let you go, Brian, obviously the Gators had a rough year last year. Their schedule is just brutal this year.
Awful.
How many games do you think they can win?
Ooh, buddy. Oh, man. So I pulled it up here, and I'm looking at it now. Let's see.
What is the number? Number last year? Can you believe the number last year was 5.5, and it went up?
Yeah, that was the lowest ever. And
I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it went under. And I'm thinking it's going to be probably
close to that.
No, lower. I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, don't you? I mean, I think it's going to be 4 or 4.5. I
mean, I don't know who's playing for whom anyway with all these transfers and everything, but yeah, if it's 4.5, my goodness, that's just crazy. Crazy.
I mean, I just don't see many games Florida's going to be favored in. I mean, to UCF at home, to Samford at home.
Samford, yeah.
I think Miami will probably be right around a pick 'em. Maybe the Gators will be favored in that. Maybe. Kentucky, maybe.
Yes.
But I mean, where else are we going to be favored? Not against Georgia, not at Texas, not at home to LSU, not at home to Ole Miss, not at Florida State. It's gonna be a low season win total
at Tennessee. I mean, dear Lord.
Yeah, it's not
tough times,
easy,
Shane. Tough times.
Yeah. Cliff says here real quick, JC, before we get you out of here, Facebook Live brought to you by Mel, looking more and more like the DeBoer Ray Perkins era. Oh, so all right, Brian. We've run out of time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter and check out all your work.
Yeah, my handle on Twitter is at Vegas B Edwards. My content, I got some NFL stuff and gonna have some college hoops later today. Is at majorwager.com, and my picks are always on vegasinsider.com. Shane, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, my man. JC, have a good weekend.
Yeah, brother.
We'll talk to you on Monday. Brian, we'll be in touch, bud. Take care.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great weekend.
That's Brian Edwards. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvement. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structure with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Hope everybody enjoyed today's program. I want to thank JC again and Brian Edwards for joining us. Enjoy the playoff games this weekend. Stay warm, and we will recap it all on Monday. Take care.